Military Wargaming explained. A military plan may look effective on paper, but military operations rarely happen exactly as planned. The enemy reacts. Terrain creates problems. Units may arrive late. Communications may fail. Fuel and ammunition may run low. Military planners study these possibilities through a process called military wargaming. Wargaming allows a staff to test a proposed plan before that plan becomes an order. It helps planners identify risks, weaknesses, and important decisions. In this lesson, you will learn what military wargaming is, how it works, and why it is an important part of military planning. Military wargaming is a structured examination of a possible operation. It is not simply a game. It is also not an exact prediction of the future. Instead, planners take a proposed course of action and work through it step by step. A course of action, often shortened to COA, is a possible plan for completing a mission. During wargaming, the staff studies what friendly forces intend to do. They then consider how the enemy might respond. Finally, they examine how friendly forces could react to that enemy response. The basic purpose is simple. Test the plan before committing forces to it. Wargaming normally takes place after planners have developed one or more courses of action. Each course of action describes how the mission could be completed. The staff then tests each option against the expected enemy plan. They also consider the terrain, weather, available time, and available resources. Before the wargame begins, the staff needs several pieces of information. They need to understand the mission. They need to understand the commander's intent. The commander's intent explains the purpose of the operation and the desired result. The staff also studies friendly forces and their capabilities. They examine likely enemy actions. They review terrain and weather. They consider available time. They also examine logistics, communications, medical support, and other requirements. Together, these details create the situation that the staff will study. One of the simplest ways to understand wargaming is through 3 steps: action, reaction, and counteraction. The action is something the friendly force plans to do. For example, a unit may advance along a road toward an objective. The reaction is the likely enemy response. The enemy may block the road. They may reposition forces. They may use indirect fire. Or they may withdraw to another defensive position. The counteraction is the friendly response to that enemy reaction. The unit may change routes. It may use supporting forces. It may commit a reserve. Or it may adjust the timing of the operation. The staff repeats this cycle throughout each important part of the plan. Friendly action. Enemy reaction. Friendly counteraction. This allows the staff to examine the operation as a series of connected decisions. Wargaming is normally a combined staff activity. Different staff sections examine the plan from different perspectives. Operations personnel study movement, tasks, timing, and coordination. Intelligence personnel represent the enemy situation. They explain what the enemy is capable of doing. They also identify the enemy's most likely actions. Logistics personnel examine fuel, ammunition, transport, maintenance, and supply. Communications personnel consider whether units can remain connected during the operation. Fire support planners examine when and where supporting fires may be required. Medical planners consider casualty evacuation and treatment support. Each staff section looks for problems connected to its own area. This is important because one planner may not notice every weakness. A plan may appear tactically effective but require more fuel than the unit can carry. A route may appear fast but create communication problems. An attack may appear possible but lack enough medical or engineering support. Wargaming brings these different concerns together. As the process continues, the staff records important findings. They record major risks. They identify required changes. They note important decision points. They identify additional tasks for subordinate units. They may also identify areas that require observation. They determine what intelligence must be collected. They examine when reserves may be needed. They also record additional logistics and support requirements. The original course of action may then be improved. It may be compared with another option. Or it may be rejected if its weaknesses are too serious. Military wargaming is valuable because warfare involves interaction. A military force does not operate against an enemy that remains still. The enemy observes. The enemy decides. The enemy adapts. And the enemy attempts to disrupt the friendly plan. Because of this, wargaming is more than a review of friendly movement. It is an examination of competing actions and decisions. Military staffs can organize a wargame in several ways. One method is called the avenue in-depth technique. In this method, the staff examines one route or avenue of approach from beginning to end. This can be useful when a force is advancing along a clear direction. For example, the force may be moving through a valley or along a major road. Another method is called the belt technique. In this method, the operating area is divided into sections. The staff examines what may happen as friendly forces move through each section. This is useful when an operation develops through several phases. A third method is called the box technique. This method focuses on one especially important area or event. The staff may focus on a river crossing. It may study a breach through an obstacle. It may examine an urban objective. Or it may focus on another decisive location. The box technique provides greater detail in one area. However, it does not examine the entire operation equally. The staff chooses a method based on the mission, terrain, available time, and complexity of the operation. One important result of wargaming is the identification of decision points. A decision point is a moment when the commander may need to choose between different actions. The commander may need to commit a reserve. The commander may need to change the main effort. The force may need to continue the attack. Or it may need to move to an alternate route. A useful decision point must be connected to information. The commander needs to understand what is happening early enough to make a decision. The commander also needs enough time to carry out that decision. This means wargaming helps identify intelligence requirements. Planners determine what must be observed. They determine where it must be observed. And they determine when the information is needed. Wargaming may also identify the need for branches. A branch is a planned alternative to the main plan. It can be used when the situation develops differently than expected. For example, the main plan may use one crossing point. A branch may direct the force to use a second crossing point if the first becomes unusable. A branch does not create a completely separate plan for every possible event. That would require too much time and create unnecessary complexity. Instead, planners prepare alternatives for the most important and realistic possibilities. When several courses of action exist, wargaming also helps the staff compare them. One option may be faster but carry greater risk. Another may provide stronger protection but require more time. A third option may be flexible but require more supplies and coordination. The staff may compare each plan according to several factors. These can include mission accomplishment, risk, time, simplicity, flexibility, logistics, and the ability to respond to enemy actions. This comparison helps the commander understand the advantages and disadvantages of each option. The commander can then select the course of action that best supports the mission. However, military wargaming also has limitations. Its results depend on the quality of the information used. If the staff misunderstands the enemy, the terrain, or friendly capabilities, the results may be inaccurate. Assumptions can also create problems. Planners may assume the enemy will behave in a predictable way. They may assume that communications will always work. They may assume that units will move exactly on schedule. Bias is another limitation. Planners may become attached to a preferred course of action. Instead of testing it honestly, they may try to protect it from criticism. Time can also limit the process. A detailed wargame may require significant staff effort. But military planning often takes place under pressure. The staff may need to focus only on the most important events and decisions. For these reasons, wargaming should not be treated as a prediction. It cannot show exactly what will happen. Its purpose is to improve judgment. It helps planners identify problems. It prepares commanders for uncertainty. And it produces a stronger and more flexible plan. Consider a simple example. A unit plans to advance along the fastest road toward an objective. During wargaming, the intelligence staff explains that the enemy could block a narrow section of the road. The planners then identify an alternate route. They also prepare reconnaissance to check the area before the main force arrives. In another example, a friendly force plans to attack two enemy positions. The wargame shows that the enemy may reinforce one position during the operation. The commander creates a decision point. If the reinforcement is detected, the reserve will be sent to the area where it is most needed. Now consider a logistics example. A plan requires armored vehicles to move over a long distance. During wargaming, the logistics staff identifies a fuel problem. The fuel vehicles may not arrive at the planned time. The staff adjusts the schedule. They also create an additional refueling location. These examples show the main value of wargaming. It reveals problems before those problems affect the operation. Military wargaming is the structured testing of a proposed course of action. Planners examine friendly actions, likely enemy reactions, and possible friendly counteractions. They identify risks, decision points, intelligence needs, support requirements, and weaknesses in the plan. Wargaming cannot predict the future. But it can help military commanders and staffs prepare for uncertainty. That is why it remains an important part of military planning. Subscribe to our channel to get more military knowledge.